Ezel, thank you for your question for week one in our media studies and research and design class. You pose a ton of questions for us, and I hope they spread around between our peers in terms of what we're picking and choosing to answer and respond to. I'm going to let some of the just for the sake of diversity, let some of the other students speak for the conditions of the 1970s. And the answer to all of that is, of course, the context changes entirely. If social media were active in those ages, then we would see some cause and effect, some problems, or maybe some remedies, like we do today. Okay, and I don't know how many times I've read people say read the words from people online, or listen to them talk to say, well, or even overhear conversations in person where people say, I'm just glad they didn't have cell phones when I was younger, right? And because of all the dangers that come with that, all of the sort of cultural tripwires. I think that was a conversation that I kept hearing over and over and over and over again with people when we were going through this calamity of nominating the latest Supreme Court justice, and the kind of procedures that were taking place with that nomination process. With regards to the post-TV response, great to hear you're reading it, getting something out of it already. I want to comment on the question you asked toward the end about the role internet plays, and specifically if items like DVDs and Blu-rays are on the way out in the next 5 to 10 years. 5 to 10 years, oh my goodness. All right. So what we are seeing now is a kind of package deal. When you buy that type of media, think about, I hate to I don't think the phrasing "shoot a dead horse" it works here, because the Disney is neither a horse nor are they dead. But this company, when you purchase an item, maybe a family movie, a children's movie, Marvel movie, you get that kind of combo pack, right? You get DVD, Blu-ray, and the digital code. All right, so they've of course foreseen that digital downloads and digital streaming were at one point the future. I would suggest they're the present. We are still in an age of Blu-rays. The DVD boom that took place in the late 90s into the 2000s has busted. DVD sales absolutely plummeted, and once Netflix became a kind of norm. As you mentioned, there's Hulu, there's Amazon Prime, all of these items. However, Apple TV, and we've had these conversations in many of our classes for good reason. Let's note this. There was a recent story in the last 3 to 6 months about someone that owned, quote unquote, had purchased and owned a particular film or piece of media, and they go into their Apple TV to watch it, and it's no longer there. And it's because the contract between the media distributor, right, the producer, the owner of the rights, and Apple, the owner of the distribution rights, the contract between the two parties expired, and so it went away. And that was what it was, and the consumer's left with nothing. So I was noticing a trend of conversations online, Twitter in particular, if I want to be specific, about film. It's typically between film critics and media scholars and historians, media historians, and the like, going into a panic about that loss of media, that loss of ownership, that loss of access when you've paid for it. And this is a current we see return. It's cyclical. All right. Betamax gave way to VHS. VHS had its heyday, gave way to DVD. Now, technically, there is an interlude, and I think this is what you were getting at. Was the word you were looking for Laserdisc? Because there was that period of Laserdiscs. Very short, did not catch on. But DVDs, Blu-ray, if we will even remember, this is a short history ago, bad phrasing, but Blu-ray was in competition with HD DVD, high definition DVDs, and there was a platform war, and Blu-ray won out. I'll let you Google the reason why. It's a dirty little secret in the media industry, but Blu-ray won out, and now we're seeing not only the streaming wars, the streaming services sort of become the dominant norm, but also on top of that, what is it? Ultra 4K, ultra high definition television and DVDs. And so the great thing about continuous disc formats, though, is that they will play all those old formats. It may go out in terms of a highly profitable mainstream option, but I don't think in the next 20 or so years we'll see a full decline or a full exodus from that type of media, hard media, because there is concern by those that they're sort of archivalists, historians, and so on, that if you're just entrusting all your money and your ownership in these digital platforms, you're not guaranteed that eternal space the way it was pitched and sold. What a great question, and an example that comes to mind is Filmstruck. All right, so the TCM Turner Classic Movies and the Criterion Collection Company. Some of these classic film organizations had gone together on Filmstruck, a streaming service for indie movies and classic cinema, and it just up and vanished, and people were going nuts just recently online as they announced the end of this streaming service. It was actually quite affordable and had a bevy of strong content. So we're already seeing a replacement, though, and it's all about negotiations and rebranding and some of these age-old aspects about media. The older things get, the more they stay the same. We're just seeing the same, say the same song playing on a new record, right? I don't know if I said that right, but I think you get what I mean. All right, thanks.